All right, so if you want to be a published author and you want to sell a lot of books, here's what I recommend you do. This is coming from somebody who I just hit the Amazon bestseller list. This is not a plug for my book, but this is just proof, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. My book, Strength Beyond the Shadows, just hit in the top 1,000 on Amazon overall book rankings, and a bestseller on 6 or 7 or 8 categories. #1 bestseller in several categories. That is coming from me, who I have little to no following. As I make this video now, I have 700 subscribers on YouTube and 4,000 followers on Instagram, and my book is a bestseller on Amazon. I've sold in just 3 months several hundred copies, like 500-600 copies, which is a lot for me anyways, right? Because I'm like a nobody. So anyways, I've had a lot of people reach out asking, where do you get started? How do you do it? How did I do it? How did I do it so well? How did I become successful in it? So I just wanted to share my journey in writing a book. So the biggest thing, like rule number 1, okay, if you're going to write a book, the biggest thing you have to do is get words on paper. You have to get the words on the paper. A lot of people, myself included, will stress about chapter development and the layout and how they want the book to look and, like, you know, does it make sense and this and that. Just get the words on paper, all right? You can fix all of those things on the back end, but what most of the time what happens when you sit there, this is called analysis paralysis, right? You sit there and you think about all these ways and all these things you have to do to write the book, and then you never write the book, or you only get so far in, and then you don't. You end up not writing it. Okay. So first thing you want to do is you have to get words on paper. Whatever it is you want to write about, just get the words on paper. Sit there and write. And if you got to take a break, take a break. There is this interesting thing with procrastination and creativity, where creativity requires some level of procrastination, but you also have to be able to get back in there and get to work. So if the words are not flowing out of you, if the story's not flowing out of you, I would suggest taking a break and then getting back to it at a later date, right? So my story is a memoir, so I was kind of able to really pump it out quickly because I was just telling my story. But with that being said, during the editing process, there was a lot of it that I went back and rewrote and changed. So the biggest thing, though, is get the words on paper. As far as a word count goes, don't worry about a page count because that's all going to change. But I would say a word count is something you should focus on. My memoir is about 60 to 70,000 words in total. That's pretty good for a memoir. You don't want it to be too long. You don't want it to be too short. So you don't want it to be too short, because if it's not X amount of pages, or if it's like a really thin book, people won't pick it up and read it. So my book has like it's about an inch thick or so. So you can tell it has some context, or, some substantial context in there. It's thick enough, it's heavy enough physically that people will say, okay, this is actually like a book, a real story. If it's so thin, you likely will deal with people picking up your book and seeing how thin it is, and maybe there's no context to it, or it's not that deep, or it's not a real book, right? So there's like these metrics that we naturally put on things. So when we see 500 pages, that's kind of intimidating. When we see 50 pages, we're like, I'm not going to read that. It's too short. There's nothing in there for me. So my book's about 215 pages. It's somewhere between 60 and 70,000 words. I don't know exactly, but that's like a good shoot for, I would say, a memoir. And I'm only speaking from like my experience. So if you're writing other things that are shorter, if you're writing other things that are longer, then you take this with a grain of salt. But I wrote a memoir, so this is my experience. Now, so I self-published, which I highly recommend most people do. A publisher nowadays is not going to try and pick me up. They're not going to try and pick anybody else up with a small following. Nowadays, there's so much guaranteed sales and like notoriety and people's following, their social media following. So in my opinion, when I have reached out to publishers, they are turning me down or not even acknowledging me just because I don't have a following and I don't have an agent, whatever. I don't know. So I went the self-publishing route. Now, self-publishing you can completely do by yourself, hence the name self-publishing. What I did was I used a consulting company, and while I do think most consulting companies are robbing people blind, The company that I used is phenomenal. So the name of the company is My Word Publishing. So you can Google it. I'll try to drop the link below. But My Word Publishing is a consulting company. And what happens is you get a project manager essentially. So you call them, you get on a consulting call. The consulting call is like $25. And if you go through with them, that'll get rolled into your payment. Like they'll take that as part of your payment. And then for a flat rate, a flat fee, they will help you and guide you through the process of how to write the book, publish it, and do all of those things. Not only that, but they connect you with all of these other pieces, okay? So if you do it without a consultant, you have to go find the editors, the proofreaders, the designers, and you can do all of those things. In fact, you can do a lot of it through AI. But the downside of that is none of those people are vetted. You have to trust them. You have to, there's some level of there's a higher risk there because they're unvetted and you're kind of doing something that you're not experienced in, which I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying with a consultant and somebody that's trusted, like My Word Publishing, I'm not getting paid by them to do this, by the way. So Nick Lavery, he endorsed my book. His name's on the back of my book. He wrote a book called Objective Secure. I met him. He used My Word Publishing. So I use My Word Publishing because he recommended them. He's a trusted source. So I used them as well, and they're phenomenal. And what they'll do is they will connect you to the best editors for your genre of book, whatever you're writing. They will connect you to the best proofreaders. Those editors know people. They'll connect you with the best designers for whatever you're doing. They will fit your needs. They will tailor to what you need or what you're doing with your book. And they're a shoulder to lean on. They're a listening ear when you have ideas and suggestions and whatever. And they'll walk you through the entire process, how to have it designed, the layout, the writing, the marketing, which is a big piece of it. So the consulting thing, I would highly recommend. There is a fee that's charged with it. There is a flat fee that comes with it. And then there are additional fees on top of that, paying for all the editing, the marketing, the book design, all of those things as well. So I think all in all, just being transparent with everything only to the book paid, I think I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9, maybe close to $10,000 to publish my book. Just being transparent. Now that's not going to be the same for everybody because those costs and fees, they go up and down the more or less work you do. Or the more or less words you have, like those kind of things, right? So I really forked out like as much money as I could in the right areas because I wanted my book to succeed, okay? So when we talk about getting your story to succeed, well, and to like be good at this is the thing that I think most people will stray away from because they don't see the fruits of their labor immediately. And truthfully speaking, I didn't see it either until later on in life, which this is typically how it goes, right? So learning to tell your story, whatever it is, whether it's a memoir, you want to give a speech on leadership, you want to talk about mental health, whatever you want to do, the more you do it, the better you're going to be, right? So it takes repetitions, okay? And so for me, I wrote a memoir, so I'm telling my story. So I can go out and I can find people to talk to and tell my story to, but really the best way to do it is through what now we have is podcasts, right? Everybody has a podcast, and there's an app or I guess it's a website. I'll drop the link below as well. But the name of the website is Podmatch, and it's basically like Tinder. It's like a dating app for podcasts. So if you have a podcast and you want guests, you can find guests. If you want to be a guest and go on podcasts, you can find podcasts. So you create a little profile, you type your name in. It's like $20 or $30 a month, and you'll get all these matches every like 3 or 4 hours. I think it is. You get 3 matches, and then you can accept them. They accept you. You match up, and you get on there. My acceptance rate on that website was like 99.9%. I don't think I had anybody turn me down for anything. And I did a bunch of podcasts. And most of these podcasts were very small with little followings that you could say did nothing for me, right? Because there was no immediate gain. There was no immediate satisfaction or money or notoriety. There was no viral moments that I got out of any of these podcasts. Like none of that happened. So one could argue that these things did nothing for me, right? But this was probably like, no shit, the best thing that I did was I probably did 50 to 100 podcasts over the course of like 3 or 4 months. That's 50 to 100 reps of telling my story front to back. So I had ways to tell my story in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30, 40, 50. I had ways to tell my story in like 10-minute increments. So if I had 10 minutes to tell it or an hour to tell it, I can tell you my whole story quickly. So that was without a doubt the best thing that I did as far as learning how to tell my story and things like that. Because later in life, I ended up going on Soft White Underbelly. So Mark Leda, he of Soft White Underbelly, he wrote the foreword to my book. Why did he do that? Well, when I went on his channel, I was able to tell my story in a way that was very captivating, very compelling, very motivating and inspiring and heartbreaking and just emotional, right? And that all came from the repetitions of telling my story over and over and over and over again on these little podcasts, these little channels, these smaller channels. There were some big channels sprinkled here and there, but for the most part, like I got nothing out of those podcasts other than a great conversation with somebody and a repetition and an opportunity to tell my story. The reason why that's important, all those little ones, is because when you have the opportunity to speak to somebody, with a little bit more notoriety or a little bit more of a following, if you get an opportunity like Soft White Underbelly or like a big podcast or a news channel or a speaking event, whatever it is, you've done those reps over and over and over again, so you're able to just get on here and talk. I have told people how to write a book and what I've done in writing my book over the phone so many times that now I'm able to get on this video and just basically, I've got a couple notes here, but I can just tell you what I did and what works. And now I know how to tell this and pitch this message in a way that's beneficial. So the best thing you can do, like no shit, is get on a bunch of podcasts. Get on there, okay? Now, with that comes content creation. And this is something that my mentor, Nick Lavery, told me. Just start making content, okay? You are going to start off making content. You're not going to get any likes. You're not going to have a following. You're not going to nobody's going to share. Nobody's going to listen. Nobody's going to watch it. And you're going to look stupid. And as long as you're okay with those things, you will make it eventually. All right. Eventually it becomes more about your will to continue versus the forces or the powers of the universe that are like stopping you from being great. All right. That's just the truth, okay? So when you start making content, it's going to suck. It's going to look stupid. You're going to mess up. The screen's going to be too cropped, or you're going to say something and the video's going to get cut off, or the filter's wrong, or the captions say something wrong. You're going to mess it up. It's okay. Like, as long as you're okay with that, then you will be able to eventually, tweak and tune it and fix it. So, a year from now, you'll be good and you'll be making much better content and really understand how the platforms work. But if you don't ever get started, you're never going to get to that point of like really understanding how the platforms work and how the algorithms work and all that. There is a cool story I'll share with you quickly. There was a professor who teaches a pottery class, and half the class he tells me, I want you guys to make as many pots as you can over the course of the next 6 months. The other half of the class he tells them, I want you to make the absolute most perfect pot that you can over the next 6 months. Go. And at the end of the 6 months, the class that made the most pots actually had the best pots. And then the class that was tasked to make one pot, just make the one most perfect pot that they could make, they couldn't do it. And it was a horrible pot. It was, just didn't work. So the class that didn't care about the quality of it, they only cared about the quantity, the producing. They just kept taking stabs. They just kept going. And so through repetition and time, what happened? They made a phenomenal pot, right? And that is just the art of creation. That is the power and the art of creation. It is repetition. It's repetition. The art of creation is repetition. That's it. So just want to share that with you as well. Now, another talking point is ghostwriting. People ask me, did I ghostwrite? Did I have a ghostwriter? I have a great story with that. I'll try not to talk too long on this one. Ghostwriting it did pop into my head at first because I got like 20,000 words into my book and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish this. I need to hire a ghostwriter. Okay, my experience with a ghostwriter went horribly wrong. I hired a lady. She tried to ghostwrite. She tried to write in my voice. It did not sound right. It was like a horrible idea on my part. And, I would say having a co-writer is not a bad idea, but a ghostwriter, I would not recommend it because, especially if you're doing a memoir, because you can only tell your story the way it needs to be told. Nobody else can do it. And so when I hired the ghostwriter, I got rid of everything that she had created. I mean, it wasn't much. And I got rid of all the things that she made and created, and I started over basically with my own words because she was trying to write in my story. She was trying to write in my voice, and it just did not come off right. It was things that I wouldn't say. It just did not work. But also, I didn't care about what she had put on paper. I care about every word that I put in this book because I put the words in this book. It means so much more to me for that reason. And that's even a talking point when I tell people, when I give speeches, is like, don't ever let somebody else tell your story, right? Like you go out there and tell your story and practice it and learn how to tell it so that people understand it, okay? So I did not use a ghostwriter. I know that is a thing that people do. I don't think co-writing is bad. I mean, ghostwriting is not bad either. There's no right or wrong to this. But co-writing, I think, is a lot different in the thing that you're going back and forth with somebody. Whatever, I digress. Okay. Ads. So I asked my mentor, Nick Lavery, I said, hey man, did you pay for any promotion? Did you pay for any ads? Did you pay for any of this stuff? And his answer was no. Don't pay for anything. Don't pay to like have mass production stuff done. And I didn't listen to him entirely. I did pay for some things that I shouldn't have paid for because they did nothing for me. Here's the thing. When you're starting off in the world and you have no following, you have nobody buying your shit or watching your shit or looking at your shit, it doesn't make sense for you to pay for ads because here's the thing. Here's what people are doing is they are creating good content with a small following, but they're not getting the response that they want. Therefore, they pay for ads to generate views and engagement, and all that does, like most of the time, from my experience, I mean, there are several people that I follow that I can see that this is what they've done. They've paid for ads to get the following, to get the blue check mark, to get all this engagement, and it's nothing but robots. I mean, there are people that I follow, there are podcasts that I've been on where when they post a video, it gets 550 comments, it gets 12,000 likes, and it's all the same thing. It's just bots. So they've paid for bots to make their content look like it's engaging when in reality it's not. So the number one rule with content creation, aside from repetition, is it has to be engaging. So if this video goes viral or not, it has to be engaging. So I am trying to give you all advice and teach you lessons, and I hope this all works. But for this video to go viral, it has to be engaging. That's it. I can pay for ads and they'll boost this video, and the only thing that's going to happen is a bunch of bots are going to watch it, and I'll get some comments from robots, like quite literally robots. So your ads, I just wouldn't pay for them. Now, if you are somebody who has already blown up and you're already in the spotlight and you've got followers and whatever, you've already got the engagement, then maybe there's an opportunity to mess with ads here and there. But I would keep that budget like really low because you're just not going to get what you want out of it, okay? And if it was as easy as just putting $100 into Instagram and then becoming famous, everybody would be doing it. But it's not that easy, right? The ads are only going to get you so far. Your content has to be engaging, period. All right. So with that being said, I did not use any advertisement at all. I have not paid anybody to do any ads. All the content that I have done is I've created my own, and which is the reason why it's so shitty. But it's also real, it's raw, it's authentic. I'm not trying to put on an act for anybody. I don't have this false persona when I'm talking about my book. I don't have this marketing voice. I am who I am, and that's why my content is engaging for as much as it is. So content creation, ads, there's my 2 cents on that. I guess the last thing I'll leave you, well, probably not the last thing, but so AI. A lot of people are using AI, not just to write their books, but also for their content creation as well. So here's my problem with AI. It lacks the human component of emotion and flaw. Okay, those two things are great. Perfection is not great. When your content looks so fucking perfect and scripted and beautiful, there's something about that that's like disingenuous that pushes people away. So when you're creating content, it needs to have this like genuine feel to it. It needs to have this like imperfection to it. It needs to have this human emotion to it. So if you stumble over a word or you mess up here and there, that's okay. That's part of the content. That's part of being a human, right? But if your content is so perfect because AI is chopping it up and doing all these things and putting these pictures on the screen and like it sucks and it's not engaging. And truthfully, I think the algorithm catches it and knows how bad and stupid it is, so they push it away. So when I create content, I just set the camera up like I did just now. I push it out and go. Maybe in the future, I don't know. Maybe in the future when I have the money for it, I'll create some fancy studio and we'll have something special. But in reality, my authenticity is what is so engaging for people. So when you're talking about content creation in AI, the flaws and the imperfection part of it is what is so engaging to somebody else. When it's so perfect and the screen is this and that, and like you're getting all these different highlights and the camera's bouncing in and out. And the thing is too with AI, so here's the thing. People are trying to take shortcuts all over the place, right? People want shortcuts all the time. They want the shortcuts to everything. They want the shortcuts to writing a book. They want the shortcuts to fame. They want the shortcuts to following, to the blue checks, to the comments, to the money. They want the shortcuts to everything. And what the world is doing, it is providing shortcuts at a cost. And that cost is just ripping people off. People are paying for AI services to do certain things for them. They're paying for Instagram and TikTok and all these apps to like promote their page and give them subscribers and give them subscriptions and optimize. They're paying for all of these things. They're like outsourcing it, and it is doing nothing for them. The world has realized the desire for instant gratification, and they are capitalizing on people being lazy or people just not having enough time, right? And with that being said, there's not enough time in the day to do certain things, but there's enough time in the years, right? So if you can't optimize your channel today, don't pay somebody $500 to optimize your channel because you're going to get ripped off. You're not getting what you want. You're not getting what you're paying for. The world has identified, and there are markets and people and systems out there that have identified the fact that people want things quickly. Therefore, they're creating these systems that supposedly give it to you, and it's not real. Okay, I've seen so many people fall to this, and I was almost one of them. Thankfully, I had my mentor Nick, who told me like to not pay for those things. Like, you are going to have to put in the work every single day to do these things, to create the content, to optimize and freaking do whatever the hell you want to do. You are going to have to do the work to make it work. There's nothing you can do. There's no shortcut to success in life, period. But especially when it comes to all these things. I mean, think about it. Like if all you had to do is pay $500 or $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, like in the grand scheme of things, $10,000 is not a lot of money. So even if that's all you had to pay to like make your book become a bestseller, that's not it. It does not work like that. It takes repetition and time and commitment and discipline. Like, it takes those things to become successful. You cannot pay an app. You cannot pay somebody else. You cannot pay for some AI generator to do the work for you. All right. It just does not work like that. That's my AI rant. Okay. So I talked about a lot of things here, but get the words on paper. Get started there. Once you get close to finishing your book, then you look at getting the book cover designed. And there are designers out there. Once again, I would look for a human designer. I would not go through an AI generator. There is something imperfect about my book, okay? There is something imperfect about my design. You can tell that a human put this together. In fact, her name was Amanda Miller, and I will try to plug her links somewhere in the description or something. Amanda Miller designed this. This was her like third or fourth book design. I don't know. She's brand new to designing books. She's been in the consulting business for a while now, I think. Brand new to designing books, but she designed my cover and she did phenomenal. I mean, I absolutely love this. It's captivating, it's compelling, it's emotional. This is something that AI cannot do, okay? And I don't know how long it took Amanda, but Amanda I could talk to, and Amanda was able to give me the emotion that I wanted out of my cover, okay? And so AI does not do that. So that's why I recommend using humans to do the work, or doing the work yourself, okay? If you're not skilled at something, I have no eye for art or anything like that. I have no eye for it. So even when I create videos, like I don't have the eye to create the beautiful thumbnail and all these things. I don't really care about it. People want to watch it, they can watch it. If not, then that's fine. What's up, buddy?
Thirsty.
You're thirsty? Everybody look, come here. You want to get on here? No? My son just came in. Here, I'll get you some water in just a second, okay, buddy? Let me finish this up. But this is, I'm not even going to delete that out because this is the art of creation. It is imperfect. But yeah, you're going to get your book design, you're going to get your cover design, and then from there, you're pretty much done. Like you're getting close to the end. You get a couple. So when you're editing a book or when you're writing a book, what happened with me using this consulting company, I wrote the entire book, and then you do 2 developmental passes, which they help you develop the story. They find the gaps. They're trying to help you find the gaps, and they're going to ask questions like, "Hey, could you explain this?" or "Hey, what does this mean?" There's going to be a lot of that throughout your book, and so you go back through and you go through your editing process, and you'll go back through, and then you'll send that back to the editor. You'll do that twice, and then you'll do a line edit, which is like you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's. Once you're done with the line edit, you will do your proofreading. Okay, the proofreading is another person who's going to look at your book front to back. They may have some questions, but they're really just making sure all the grammar and all that stuff's correct. And then from there, you're essentially with a finished product. If you want to get endorsements like I did, that takes a little bit more work, reaching out to people, asking them, to look at your book, looking at advanced copy, things like that, and provide some sort of blurb. I did that. I have several people who did that for me. And then you're pretty much done. And I wish I could tell you more about the self-publishing part through KDP and like Amazon, where I went through. But my consultant, Amanda Miller, she set all that shit up for me, and she still does today. Like I still text her and ask her questions, and she does whatever she needs to do and gets it set up. So I really don't know a whole lot about that part. If you reach out to My Word Publishing, they will help you for sure. And then you start promoting your book. So once you write your book, you publish it. It's funny, I thought like that was the hard work. I thought that was the work and doing it, because it took me about 11 months from the time I contacted My Word Publishing to the time I published my book. In total, the book writing process takes about a year to a year and a half, at least, probably at a minimum, a year to a year and a half, if you're doing anything like really substantial, like kind of deep or something lengthy. Probably even if you're writing a children's book, you're looking at probably 6 months at a minimum, even something that's just 10 pages, because it just takes a lot of work. So I thought that was the hard part. The hard part is post-publishing, when you find out that nobody wants to buy your book. And so you have to find a way to make it, and sell it. And so that is the hard part. And I can talk about what I did post-publishing to become a best-selling author. But truthfully, it's just the hard work, consistency, and getting the story out there by virtue of podcasting, reaching out to people, emailing, DMing, commenting, creating content, all of those things in combination. It's all these like little things that work. And I'll leave you with this, okay? When you feel like you're not making progress, when you feel like you have stopped making progress and you don't know when the breakthrough is coming, think about the stone cutter, okay? The stone cutter every single day strikes a stone every single day. And one day he breaks the stone in half. But the stone cutter knows that it was not that one strike that was any different. It was all of the strikes that he did previously. It was all of the little mundane things that he did every single day before that day before that one specific strike is what broke the stone. That is the breakthrough. That's where the breakthrough comes from, okay? The breakthrough is not this viral moment. It's not this lucky opportunity. It's not this crazy thing that happens that sends you into the realm of success and all of these other beautiful things of going viral on the internet. The success was everything that you did on the way to get there, period, okay? We've gone for 30 minutes now. I hope that you guys have all enjoyed this video. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. Shoot me an email. My email is info@sethgale.com. But this is like your catch-all for how to write a book, how to tell your story, how to get started, how to get out there. Thank you all so much. Catch you on the next one.